Our next guest on the pod is a living legend in the Boston area and perhaps worldwide. She's been running marathons since high school. She's run in all 50 states and around the world multiple times. She's a coach, a race director, a volunteer. She has her own 5K, her own foundation, and her own children's book. She's running in the Boston Marathon for the 21st consecutive time. Needless to say, we're wicked excited to finally have Becca Pizzi on the On the Runs podcast. What's up, Becca?
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I love following you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. You've honestly, like, Eric's intro had so much to unpack, but I just know that you are my kind of people, Becca. Between running really all the 50 states, that's a goal of mine. We're going to have to talk states eventually. Absolutely. But running the continent, like the world, I think that's so incredible. And even the fact you have a children's book, I really do want to unpack all this. So I hope we have some time. But just the fact you are on number 21 for consecutive Bostons, that is incredible. And we just have so much to get to.
Yeah, let's do it.
And a little side note here. I do my notes. I usually don't share them with Erica. She gets a few things. I might say, by the way, she's run all 50 states. You should ask her for recommendations. But a lot of those things, she has no clue. Like, I know you had to take the American flag off a couple times when you raced before. She's like, what? So this is fun. Yeah. But let's get to know you first. We know you're a living legend in the Boston area, but let's get to know you. Tell us a little more about yourself.
I started running with my dad when I was 6 years old, and I loved going to the local races and the way it made me feel. And I used to be able to race in Belmont and surrounding towns, and I would cross the finish line and I would win something in my age group because I was the only one in my age group, but it didn't matter. I was like, cool, a water bottle. And I never stopped. I competed in middle school, high school, college, and I just kept it going. I love to travel. I love to run. So I love to do those things. It's been an incredible journey.
That is so awesome. So you started running with your dad, and did he keep running with you throughout the years?
He did. And then when I got to middle school and I started finishing ahead of him, he's like, you go, you do your thing, go. And I went, and it's so he's a Marine. So they're really kind of hard on you Marines. So I couldn't really call him with an injury because that's not a thing. So it's okay. It's the reason why I am so tough.
That is a perfect encouraging parent that you want on your side. Someone who's just going to say, hey, if you've got it in you, you go. Don't worry about me. You do you, and go make me proud.
Yeah, and he's always been there. He's been my biggest fan, and he's always been really, really motivating, inspiring. So a living legend he is.
Excellent.
That's awesome. And I think from what I know is he's kind of been following you around the world, not maybe physically or personally, but he's calling friends when you're somewhere else around the world to watch over you as you're doing all these things. So he's very involved in your life.
Yeah. And then even like my children's book, I'm like, Dad, I got the book. Everything's all set. I just need a title. And he titled it Becca's Feet on Feet, and like within a second. And I was like, wow, that's great. That's really awesome. And it's been great.
That is cool. We know a couple book writers here who've been on the pod. We call them pod fam. So officially, Becca, welcome to the pod fam.
Yes.
We'll definitely talk about that if time allows. But one thing I do want to know is, were you always running as a kid? You started at 6, or did your parents get you involved in all these other sports? Like, I'm going to guess biking because you do the triathlon, and swimming too. What else did you do growing up?
Soccer's a big thing in Belmont. I started playing soccer at Second Soccer, and I was also lucky enough to play soccer in college as well.
Awesome.
So
I'm a big fan. That's what I did in school. So again, you're my people. Yeah, we're very alike.
I love it.
Well, let's start with this. You started running at 6. Tell me about your first Boston Marathon experience. I'm not talking about the first time you ever ran Boston, but you're from the area, and this race, it's Boston Weeks for us. This race is a pretty big deal, and it's a pretty big deal for you. What was your first introduction to the Boston Marathon?
My grandmother took me to Heartbreak Hill, and we had so much fun. We would go to Heartbreak Hill, and I will never forget being 7 years old and like holding my arm out and getting a high five from like a runner, like not even an elite runner. And I was like, that person touched my hand. So now when I ever see a child holding out their hand, I high five them because I'm like, that was me, and then it gives me a little boost of energy. And I turned 17 and I asked my high school coach, can I run the Boston Marathon? I have an invitational bib through Liberty Girls Club, who is still a running club. And he's like, oh my God, yeah, go for it. And I thought that was really awesome that he let me do that. You know, I was obviously scoring points by high school and very much so in season.
Mhm.
So he's like, what's your plan? I'm like, I don't know. I kind of need your help too. So he helped me out tremendously. And my science teacher, I was racing my science teacher who was also, so the whole school like was placing bets on who's going to finish first. And I did, for the record.
Yay!
So I went to school the next day with my medal on, and all my friends came out. They cheered for me, and so many friends came. And then on the loudspeaker the next morning, they announced that I had beat my science teacher. So it was awesome. And I said, I'm going to do this every single year. And I loved it. I loved being on Heartbreak Hill, and I didn't know that I would run it so many times, but there's nothing better to do on Patriots Day than run the Boston Marathon. I feel I love it. It's my favorite.
What an introduction to Boston. I mean, as a kid, just being out there, soaking up the energy, getting the high fives. I also do the same thing. If you see a child, it's like an unwritten rule. You have to give the high fives. You don't care if they're like way over to the side. You make time. You go do it.
And then watch their reaction. Their arms go up and they're like, wow. And that was me.
Oh yeah, it definitely gives you a boost while you're out there, and it totally helps. But so you had a great first experience, and you just you can't break that streak at this point.
No, and I went. It's funny because I went to my next marathon, and I'm like, where are all the people?
Oh,
What was your next one?
It was in Florida. I was like, where is everybody? This sucks. I want to go home. I want to go back to Boston. And you know, I started kind of chipping away at the 50 states, and I went to college, and I said to my coach, hey coach, mind if I run the Boston Marathon? And he was like, I would expect nothing less of you, Becca. Like I knew you were going to say it. And he was like, don't get hurt. This is very serious. You're a collegiate runner. And I said, okay, I'll just run through. I flew home, and my friends were like, who also competed in college, are like, your coach is letting you run in the Boston Marathon. I'm like, that's crazy. But we just had a great relationship, and he totally trusted me that I wouldn't get hurt. Then I finished college, and I started like chipping away at the 50 states. I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like I can, share saying the national anthem, and there's been some unbelievable states. And then there were some so not unbelievable states. I don't know if you've done like Fargo yet, which is a little weird.
I actually had the Dakotas on my list because I have not done those. So those are
out now. Get those over with. And,
gotcha.
And not that it was, like oftentimes I fly in on a Friday and I go home on a Sunday, and I'm like, what should I do? I'm only here for 2 days, and I stay at the Marriott, and they said there's a brand new KFC a mile away. I'm like, what's that? And they're like, I'm like, you mean the Kentucky Fried Chicken place? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I want to go home. I'm like, are there any like museums or anything else? And they were like, no. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I want to go home. And that was like the only time I really kind of was like, not that I don't love fast food, because I do, but I was like, there's nothing else to do. Am I going to start hitting these states where there's just nothing to do? But then like, that's part of the journey, and people often ask, like, it really took me about 5 years to knock out the 50 states when I really
incredible.
I started getting like real serious about it. And
Erica, you got to up your game.
Well, like,
I got a ways to go.
Don't rush it. Don't rush it, because if you rush it, then it takes the fun out of it. Obviously, COVID happened, so I'm like, oh shit, now I have to deal with that. And
right.
And that meant that I was at the airport in heading to Texas, and they canceled the flight. I'm like, oh my God, now that's
no.
I had a little plan. I had to just go backtrack, and so I didn't do any like virtual, none of that. I wanted very much so. The only real rule was that they had to have a certified course and a medal.
Yes.
Because I have a medal board and everything. But people want to know my favorite was Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So
I haven't done that one. I haven't gone there.
They went above and beyond. They gave me bib number 50. We had 50 friends and family, including Zeke.
So it's the final one.
The final one was.
And Big Z went.
He came and
What?
ran it. He set a PR. My friends were there, but then there was like this pressure, and I felt so much pressure like to win it, obviously, because like I had 50 friends and family there. I had bib number 50. It was the 50th.
Oh, she fast.
Yeah,
you're fast.
I was like looking at the starting line. There's like so many fast girls, but I remember calling Dave McGilvery, and I'm like, I am so stressed. I'm feeling a lot of pressure, and he said, pressure is a privilege, and I'm like, you're right. It is a privilege. I feel so privileged to have this pressure. So that kind of stuck with me, and I still use that now. We'll talk about that later, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was awesome. And I had my own pacers who like my training partners, the guys that are like, they're very much so, and they just kind of paced me through it. There was a couple girls that were just like, I couldn't shake them till 17. We tried to pull ahead, we tried to fall back, we tried, and we're reading each other's eye contact, like, what are we gonna do? I cannot. And if it comes down to the mile, I'm obviously a marathoner. I'm not, and so she's gonna whoop me. So he's like, we gotta pull at like 5 to go. We gotta pull away. I'm like, oh, I'm trying. Okay, I'm running like 6:50. I'm absolutely trying. So I did. So I crossed the finish line in first place, and my dad and husband were holding the finish line tape, and I ran through the finish line with my daughter, like with our, and it's just like a day that I will never, ever, ever forget. It was like so special to win that in front of my friends and family was pretty cool.
Oh, that is incredible. I just got all the feels from that. I got a little goosebumps. But the fact that you are in close contact with Dave McGilvery and he gave you that incredible insight to just help you break those nerves down and just get it done. I think that's amazing. Like what a day. What a day.
Question I have is you're I called a local living legend here, right? How did you like integrate yourself within this running community? You were running as a very young kid in high school, and then you went to college and played sports in college. You come back home. I mean, rule number one is show up, but really, you kind of really got integrated in this community, and everybody knows who you are, and you're very involved. You're involved with more than one organization, run clubs, I'm sure, galore. How did you like get yourself involved deep in the trenches here of the running community?
I think I just like to say yes to everything. So
there you go.
anytime I'm invited to anything, like I'll go from like having absolutely no plans, nothing to do, to like throwing out the first pitch at Fenway Park, and
What?
literally like, yeah. So there's like so many stories. So I threw out the Boston Marathon called, and they said, "Hi, we work for the Red Sox." Like, no, the Red Sox called, and they said, "Would you like to throw out the first pitch on Patriots Day?" I'm like, "Yeah, but the problem is I'm running the Boston Marathon, so maybe I can like run it." And they said, "Okay, well, what are you doing the day before?" I'm like, "No plans." So there I am, like with 35,000 people, and they announced me like Becca's
Not a big deal.
No, and I thought I was gonna faint. I was like, and so I also got a Globie with David Ortiz. He got the male version, I got the female version. So I told he shook my he patted me on the back as I'm like signing a consent form, and he's like, "Are you the girl that you're Becca? You run all the time." I'm like, yeah, that's me. Nice to meet you. And I was like shaking. I was so nervous. All I could see is this like Rolex that was like $1 million. I was like,
I can picture.
And he's so big and chiseled. And I was like, he's like, "Congratulations. I want to shake your hand." And I said, "You should run the Boston Marathon for your foundation. You'll raise like so much money." He was laughing for like 7 minutes. Like he couldn't catch his breath. He's like, "Have you ever seen me run to first base?"
True.
There's a reason he's a designated hitter, right?
Yeah. So he was so fun and funny. I got to meet Tom Brady. So
not a big deal.
No,
Awesome.
I mean, it's like I can't believe this is my real life. When Tom Brady, when I met him, it was my second 777. So I did the first 777, crossed the finish line, broke history, was the first American female.
Not a big deal.
No, yeah, so I just like, and then I thought I was done with that race. It is a very stressful 7 days.
You've got quite the history with that race. We should talk about that later.
So that happened, and then Tom Brady's company TB12, Alex called me and he said, "We would love to train you to do this again." And I said, "Well, what do you know about running?" And they said, "No, but nothing, but not a whole lot, but we know everything there is to know about the human body. So we'll pay your race entry fee if you want to do it again." And they came to the finish line and they cheered for me. And Tom Brady was so awesome. He was like, I was like, "I will make you proud." But then having all of TB12's help, you cannot come in second place. Not
so much pressure.
There we go again with the pressure.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right, this is it's fine. Everything's gonna be okay. So I just raced I put a plan together with friends, with like my training, and I just stuck to and I didn't worry about anybody else. Like I was experienced. I knew about, I had run in extreme conditions. I knew, and my motto kind of was get comfortable being uncomfortable and you'll make it. And that's exactly what it was. I was running at all hours of the day and running in as many races as I could and keeping 100-mile weeks, running 100-mile weeks and doing all sorts of things just to make sure that I could, and then I crossed the finish line and I won. So it was really awesome. But wow, I got to stop putting myself in these high pressure.
I was just gonna say, do you like these high pressure moments? Like, do you ever, well, I'm sure you run for fun a lot, but really I was gonna go back to the Wyoming story at Jackson Hole. When you had a pacer, is it often that you will have someone pacing you versus you pacing someone else? And so your pacer's talking to you like, okay, we got to pick it up at this point, and you're like, I'm gonna try, I'm doing the best I can. And are you in those situations a lot? And then the pressure situations of like having to win, how do you deal with that, and how does that work out?
No, so that's exactly it. Is I have a whole lot of trust in my training partners. I run with them 7 days a week. We're always together, and I think they know me better than anybody. So oftentimes I like to run my own race. When I feel good, I go. I have going into every single race. I have two goals, like an A goal that is a little bit out of my reach, and then a B goal in case the A goal doesn't go so well. Then I have something to work towards. And that's kind of how I live my life, and I do a ton of coaching. I coach all 3 seasons at Belmont High School, indoor and outdoor and cross country, off track, and I like to say, like, what went well today? And they tell me with my daughter, and I'm like, what do we need to work on? And then she'll be like, oh, I got a bad start. She's a sprinter. And I do the same for me. I'm like, after every single race, I'm like, what went well and what do I need to work on? And I'm still learning. I've run 120 marathons. I'm still learning.
Wow, that is a great way to break it down. I haven't even thought of that. I've done about 50 myself, and usually I'm just like, I finished. Okay. But it is good to break it down into the good, the bad, what can improve, what's out of my control, that kind of stuff, just to get a better idea of like how the day went. I love that. That is a great way
that helps me tremendously. Like, not right away. And sometimes with my daughter, when she races, we don't do it right away, but we kind of like,
have some time to process it, right?
Have some time. And then what went well and what do we need to work on? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing we definitely have to talk about, because Erica and I, and like, we're gonna really get into Boston in a moment, but you've done the 777. Erica and I are just like fascinated by this race for years and years and years, especially this past year. Like Wyatt just did it with you. You were the race director. So you've been, not only have you run this thing, you've been so involved with it. You've directed races in Antarctica. You just directed the World Marathon Challenge this past year. Can we talk about that for like 5-10 minutes here? And let's talk about the mindset you came up with to get yourself ready and trained for this, starting with running a marathon and jumping on a plane without a shower.
Yeah, it's gross. Like, that's the things that you're going to be. And oftentimes, like Wyatt and myself, we run marathons. There's an 11 a.m. flight or there's a next day flight. We want to be on the 11 a.m. flight, so I will do everything I can for a 6 a.m. marathon to catch that 11 a.m. flight, because I'm a mom. So I can't be strolling in when I feel like strolling in with a high schooler. So
that's fair.
Oftentimes I'm flying home in what I just raced in. And I say to my husband, don't draw any attention to me. Just like, I don't want any, like, I just want to make it home, especially like Boston. I love being in Boston. I love my bed. I have, everything I just want. So often Wyatt and I, we're used to that kind of thing. So, I ran the race twice and I became real good friends with the owner, Oliver. And I said, you want to run it again? And I'm like, I don't. And he said, or do you want to race direct it? A female has never done anything like this as a race director for 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days. And I knew the hardest part would be going all the way to Antarctica and not racing. So, and also, like, I can't take 7 days off my training. Like, I'm in the peak of my training as well. So I said, all right, it would be my honor to race direct this. This is a literal dream job for me. Race directing the World Marathon Challenge, 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days, is a dream job for me. But I like to go running every single day on every single continent. So when they're resting or their last runner finishes, I'm going to run 10 miles. And the race director, Oliver, the owner, was like, of course you can. So
that's a fair trade.
Yeah. So we were averaging about 11 hours per continent and crossing 16 time zones, temperatures ranging from -4 to 90 in Brazil. It was awesome. So the gun goes off in Antarctica, and Wyatt and everybody's doing like the videos, and my heart's racing, and it was hard to not run. But when they started coming through with tears, like, being on that side, being the one to get to place their medals over their neck, there's no race that I could win that would be, and especially when we finish the 7th, like, and you've worked with these guys for months, and that was really awesome. That was being a part of that, just much like coaching, you're so proud of so they were like, Becca, go to the bathroom, go get something to eat. I'm like, no way. So no way am I missing this. Every single runner that came across the finish line, on all 7 of them, I would put the medals around their neck, because I just know what that feels like. So
that's amazing.
It was really awesome. If ever, I think you both should do it.
I could be easily convinced, but Eric's kids might need to be a little bit older.
Well, I got time. I got time on my side.
The race is not going anywhere. We sell out right away. And then like the people, like, they were so fun and funny. And every time they come to Boston, especially for the Boston Marathon, or one was here last week, like somebody's child goes to BC, and that you get to be like, and we have friends from like 20 countries every single year, like new friends from 22 countries. And
amazing.
It really was. So people were like, did you like racing it better, or did you like race directing? And I can't answer. I don't have an honest answer. They both were just incredible.
So did you only race it yourself twice? I mean, yes. Twice is still a lot, but
yeah.
How many years have you been race directing? Was this your first year?
This was my first year. So we have another standalone Antarctic ice marathon. So yes, that was so we've been to Antarctica 3 times, like in 3 months. So we went to, it was like going to like down to the beach, like the Cape Cod. It was like, we're going back. My parents were like, okay, you're fine, everything's okay. But we kept going back and forth. So I said, let me just start with the standalone Antarctic ice marathon and see how that goes, because I honestly thought that I was going to hate it. Like, not because it's really a long way to go. It's almost 24 hours straight to get to Antarctica.
Wow.
Yeah. So you go through Chile, then Punta Arenas, 24 hours. And it's a long way from, I've never traveled like that and not run. I won't even go on vacation and not run. I don't want to. I don't, a couple times I've gone to like Turks and Caicos, and I'm like, actually, one time I went to Bermuda and I left my running sneakers at home because I promised my husband that I would do that. And then we arrived and they're like, good luck to everybody running the Bermuda Marathon. I'm like,
no, you went the same weekend.
What? I went that weekend, stayed at the host hotel. Oh. I'm like, dude, is this a sick joke? Like, why did you do that?
Who planned the trip?
I'm like, did you literally like, and all the runners were like going to the expo. I'm like, well, we're going to the expo. I'm definitely going to the expo. And he's like, but I didn't run, and it was not fun for me.
You could have gotten some shoes at that expo, Becca, and you could have run.
I would have been feeling that FOMO too. I would have been like, why bother? Like, why am I here if I can't run?
The one time he's like, just leave your sneakers home, just one time. And I was like, all right.
So I'm going to try to run into my bare feet.
I was like thinking of all the ways. I'm like, we could change our flight. We could like, so everything. And I'm like, no way are we staying at the host hotel of the Bermuda Marathon.
That's cruel.
Yeah. So,
that's a great story, actually.
It happened. That's what happens to me.
Hey, something we're about on this podcast is storytelling. We love to hear the stories within the journey.
She's delivering already.
Yeah, a lot of the unknown stories. That was a perfect example. And one thing we always like to say is spare no details. So I heard this story, though, of when you did, I think it was your first 777. And the world was at, people didn't love Americans at the time. And it was a little unsafe some places you went to. Tell me about that experience and what you had to go through.
Yeah, so me having never been out of the country, like I think I didn't even, my biggest problem was when I had the big idea for the 777, I never really traveled out of the country. But I think Vegas was like the farthest that I had
You're
been.
Going big. You're going to go big.
And I'm telling my dad, when I tell my parents about the 777, they're like, no way. This sounds dangerous. My dad's like, here's where ISIS is happening and here's where you'll be. They're cutting heads off. Like, this is not safe. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. But the whole point was for me to represent my country and to make history. An American female had never finished this race. So of course I had head to toe America flag, everything. So at the time, the previous race director said, hey, I want to call a meeting for the Americans. And I'm like, why? I'm like, oh my God, my parents are going to kill me. They are going to kill me. I just had a bad feeling. And they said, just take off everything in that says American flag. I'm like, well, that's all my stuff. And then we had like armored cars running by our sides. And I'm like, oh my God, this is really kind of scary. But,
Yeah.
and that's the stuff I guess I didn't think of. So I didn't tell my parents until after I got home. I was like, I just got to tell you the story. My dad's like, what did you think would happen? Of course that happened. Like, this is not America. You're not taking life seriously. So that was really definitely different, so that was scary. But of course, when I crossed the finish line in Australia, my parents were watching it live and from home, and they were like crying, and they were like, we did it. And I was like,
Oh.
we? Because you didn't talk to me for a month in my training. You did every time I brought up, you were not, but now you're on board. And of course, like the Boston made Becca Pizzi Day, February 4th, and we got a key to the city and all these really, really fun things.
That's so cool.
They're so proud of me, but they really love me. They were really stressed out, and my dad's like, I'm not going to sleep the whole time that you're running. And I'm like, well, neither am I. So call me anytime. We'll both do it together. And I always said, I never loved your ideas as a high schooler. So this is a little bit of payback. You're not going to like it. So, and that's like, now when I tell them I got an invitation to run Kona, Hawaii, and no, cool. I did not know how to swim. So 3 months I learned how to swim and got an awesome bike. And when I tell my parents my goals, they just stare at me. They're just like, you're crazy. Like, but now they know, okay, you know what you're doing. We know you know what you're doing. But
now wait a second. Kona was your first?
Kona was my first Ironman.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so,
what year was that? Scott Black's not going to like that. He's going to be like, "Oh my God, my friend Scott Black, broken ribs, punctured lungs, hospital visit." But tell me.
So ask me about my second Ironman. So that was. I got stung by jellyfish in Nice, France. I couldn't see out of my right side of my eye the whole entire day. So I get out of the water and I'm like, at first I thought someone's toenail got me in the back of the neck. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, well, no one's around me. So what was that? So I keep swimming and I see more jellyfish. These jellyfish in Nice, France World Championships, it's like they put them there. There's no way. So I lose my vision. It was like this. And so like there were these Japanese jellyfish. I got stung so hard. But that's okay. I got stung in my training and I was okay. So I was like, it's all right. It's going to be a long day for me. And I said to my husband, I got out of the water. I'm like, I got stung by a jellyfish. He's like, you're fine. I'm like, no, I'm not fine. I
can't see.
And then I fell.
How am I supposed to ride my bike with my eyes closed?
Yeah. And then I'm coming off. I made it through this 8,000 elevation. It was crazy, crazy elevation in Nice. Nothing I had ever seen before or trained on. I'm coming down off the mountain. Charles Barkley, she dropped out of the race, and I fell because it also rained, and I hit my head, cracked my helmet, and she's like right in front of her, and I was so embarrassed I had to pretend like it didn't even hurt, but I was still clipped in. I was still clipped in when I fell, so she's trying to help me up. She's like, "It's okay, you're okay." I'm like, 1 mile from the finish line, 1 mile. I'm like, this is a bad day. But I do really love the World Championships, and Ironman has been so good to me. They're just an unbelievable supportive company. So you have to kind of go to this tutorial, and on how to find your bike and mount your bike. And I was like, I need my bike because when I come out of the swim, it's the only one there. But they were dying laughing. I'm like, no, I'm absolutely serious. But I've been training over the last year about 20 hours a week in run, bike, swim.
Wow.
I'm addicted to it. I think it's so fun. I mean, there's days that I'm like, the thought of swimming right now, I can't do it. But I do it. I do it and I stick to the plan, and it's rewarding when you're putting in. I'll never forget looking in Hawaii at and I'm like, oh my God, I've never even swum 2.4 before, but I'm not going to not finish here. There's no way.
Right.
But I did okay. It was really awesome.
Now, you weren't really a biker or a swimmer before this opportunity, correct?
Right. I went out and bought a bike.
Erica, come on.
I got invited. I was minding my own business. That's the thing with my story. I am always minding my own business. I told you, and then I got invited to something.
Yeah.
I say yes. The
you
thing
said
is,
yes.
I say yes right away, and then I tell my family a month later. I'm like, so there's this race. My dad's like, the world. You're gonna go into the World Championships and race. I'm like,
as a rookie.
Yeah,
that's very Justin Spencer of you.
No,
he did that
to the point where I got 3rd-degree sunburn and I absolutely had and you know what I did by accident? I didn't, because I didn't know I was wearing a sprint kit. So
Yeah.
I had no idea that was there was no pockets like or anything. It was
Yeah.
Is
it
that
was
just
not
because it's a shorter distance and you don't need
Probably.
it for that?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, why does everybody have sleeves? It's white to protect their skin. That was tough. That was like a real.
That was the mistake I made. My kit, which probably doesn't fit me currently, was no sleeves. Where I will go sleeves next time. Also, my kit had all the pockets because a sprint triathlon. To me, I still need the gels and the blocks and everything. But I love. It's funny you talked about the jellyfish because my first Ironman was in Maine, and I was worried about us all looking like seals and the sharks out there. But I love that you just went for it because I've been trying to talk Erica into doing one for years and years. And she goes, I don't know how to swim. And now I can always say to herself, Becca Pizzi didn't know how to swim.
Doggy paddling.
And so what I thought was, you mentioned you're friends with Dave McGilvery. He's been on the podcast before. And one thing he says is he goes, Erica, well, you know what? I think because I've done triathlon for all these years and I've done the swimming and the biking and the strength training that I've prolonged my running career to be able to do 50 plus Boston marathons in a row.
Yeah.
Would you say the same, that adding triathlon and other sports to your resume here has made you a stronger runner?
For sure. For sure. I've studied this. I've asked people, I've asked friends, I've asked everybody because I didn't want it to, I'm a runner, but I mean, I didn't want to like lose my running. I like to run fast. And so I don't know. I was so afraid. You know what? I was afraid of getting injured, but the swimming is really, really good for you. It will never hurt you. The swim will never hurt you. It will exhaust you. Like I melt into my bed on swim days. The bike will kill you. Like I hit a Mercedes and broke their light with my helmet.
You've hit a what?
When I first started
Mercedes.
Yeah, a Mercedes. So I'm on a ride with my friends and I hit his car.
Oh,
and he's like, "Oh my God, are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." But I forgot that I was clipped in because when you start getting clipped in, you kind of forget you're clipped in. But people do not pay attention on the bike. So the only advice is you have to actually make eye contact with people. You have to be I can't tell you how many times I've almost been hit, but you got to be super, super careful.
That's so scary.
And just be totally alert. Like when you see somebody, don't assume they see you. Just driveways, be very, very careful at driveways. And I try to get out of Belmont and just go to like Acton and where there's like you can see the long driveway.
Gotcha.
Just not paying attention, but I definitely think it's made me a stronger athlete. Like either mentally, physically, both. It's definitely made me a stronger athlete. And I ran the Boston Marathon with Dave. When he ran his 50th Boston Marathon, he had 20 friends and family run the whole thing with him. So he called me and he was like, "Hey, you want to run the Boston Marathon with me?" And I was like, "Well, the minor problem is I'm running it in the day." And he's like, without hesitation, he's like, "Yeah, but then go get a ride back to the start, please escort, and do it again." And I'm like, obviously, I was like, "You didn't let me finish. Obviously, I'll do." Wasn't even on my radar. I was like,
"Yep."
And he was like, "Just do it again." I was like,
"So you did it twice."
Yeah.
I did have that question for you. You're no stranger to doing the back-to-backs and stuff. But have you ever done any ultra marathons, like official ultra marathons?
Yeah, the Western one. So
wait, Western States?
Yeah, it was the I forget drawing it, but it was in Western. That's the one that went to. We all went to. It was in somewhere in Western Mass, and it was a 50K.
Oh, Western Mass. Oh, I was thinking like you did Western States, like the Western States 100 endurance run. I was like, holy shit, like that one's so hard to get into.
No, I didn't do that one. I did the It was in Western Mass.
Okay,
and it was a 50K.
So cool.
It went well. I liked it. You're at like miles. I remember being at like miles 29, 30. I'm like, oh boy.
Never entered unknown territory.
Yeah. It went it went well. Like I broke the course record by like 30.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, it was like really cool. I was like, I like this ultra, but I haven't stuck with the ultra. I did the Ironmans and then I think that's my thing. I really, really love it.
I mean, I still think you're pretty ultra as it is, doing all the shit that you have been doing.
I think I'll do it. I think someday I'll definitely
do a 100
miler or 100K. I probably would do a 100 miler.
If anybody could do it, it's you.
Yeah, I can go.
Total faith in you.
I got it. That would be fun.
All right, now we finally got to get to this. Okay, so this is we've said we've been following you for a long time, and last year is like, I was like, we want to have Becca on the pod, but we're going to have to wait a whole year because she has to come on for Boston Weeks. Every April, we celebrate Boston runners, whether they're running for a foundation or whether they're running because they qualified or whether they have all this Boston history. And I think you have so much Boston history. We want to hear about some of your favorite and maybe not so favorite Boston Marathon experiences throughout your entire life from 6 years old with your grandmother until last year.
So by far, hands down, my favorite marathon was the one with Z.
So that 2022, I think that's when we first were starting to cheer at mile 19, and we saw Big Z go by, and we're like, who's he running with? So that's when we first got you on our radar.
Yeah. So our mutual friend, Tom Brady's friend, Ben Roberts, called me and he said, I have a friend that wants to run marathons. I'm like, sure, have him call me. I'll help him out. And he's like, wait, let me finish. He's Zdeno Chara. I'm like, oh my God, the hockey guy. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And then I met him and I was like, he was like, I'll do anything that you say, whatever. And I said, well, he just was really looking into getting into running. He didn't really talk about the marathon. So I was like, that was January. And I was like, do you think and you'd be ready to run a marathon? I was looking at his Strava and he had these like 6 mile, 7 mile runs going at a pretty quick pace. I was like, what do you think about running the Boston Marathon? He just retired in April.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, okay, so I'll sign up. I'm like, nope, that's not what you do. You don't sign up. Like he just didn't know. It was so sweet. So I was like, oh, you know who we should call? Let's call, before this leaks out to the world, let's call Dave McGilvery. He'll know what to do. So I called, I'm like, hey, call me when you get a minute. He calls me right away and he's like, what's up? I'm like, Zdeno Chara is thinking about running the Boston Marathon. He's like, oh my God, have him call me. and so we all three were like, it would be really awesome if you raised 33, his number, $1,000 for a charity. Like, and he's like, what do you suggest? And we love Team Hoyt. Like we are just,
yes.
Amazing.
They are my family. They're like family to me. We love them. And so I was like, you could just like raise money. So right away he raises $33,000, over 33,000. We both have matching singlets. We're running together. Like, and so he was like, you're going to run with me. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to run with you. Cause I had never run the Boston Marathon, not for myself and for anybody else. And it was the Zdeno Chara parade. Like people of every single age, newborn had his jersey, all the way up to like the 90-year-old grandfather with the hat in his jersey. And so I would stay like a yard ahead of him. And when I saw like a kid or like an elderly person, I'm like, he's right here. He's coming. You can't miss him. You positively can't miss him.
You really can't miss him.
Yeah,
and
so it was so fun. And so obviously very stressful. And we had a lot of fun training together. Like we covered the entire course in training, and we talked about like tempo running and speed work days, and and he was so coachable. And I didn't think, I said the only way I'm not going to work with him is he's one of those people that you know he's not going to do what you say, because I also I didn't want him to not finish and be like, oh, Becca Pizzi trained him. Like I'm not doing that at all. Not that I had any doubt that he wouldn't kill it, but he was so fun. He was really funny and fun, and everybody cheered for him the entire way. And when he crossed the finish line, they gave me his medal to put around his neck, and he did the same for me. And I was like, that just means a lot, you know, that not just as a woman, it meant a lot that he was like, that's my coach, and that's who's coaching me. And it was just, his whole family was at halfway, and his agent was at the finish line. It was awesome. Like, it was really fun. That was my favorite.
That is so special. And I think it's really incredible that he just picked up running and you were like, hey, what do you think about this marathon thing? And he was like, yeah, let's go.
And since 1 year, he ran 10 marathons.
I know. Wow. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I am so impressed.
I've mentioned it a few times on this podcast because
it's a bug. Marathons are a bug. You just keep doing them.
And I told him, I'm like, he crossed the finish line. I'm like, and by the way, these are really addicting. So
did you know about his history before hockey too? Like his dad was an Olympian, and like he's always been extremely not just strong, but active and healthy and athletic. And he's like studied sports and studied health and
That's
fitness
amazing.
and how to get better and improve. He even goes to like Harvard and takes random classes. Did you know this stuff about him before you got that phone call from Brad?
No, I really didn't even know much about him. Obviously, we had gone to a ton of Bruins games. We love playoffs. I'm like, think of all the times we've been here cheering for him. Like, and not really knowing each other. He's like, nice to meet you. I'm like, oh, I already met you. I go to all these games. And it was like really funny. And then he'd be like, oh, that was the year I was a vegan. I'm like, a vegan? What? He's like, oh, I just want to try it. Or that's the year I got my real estate license. Did you know I spoke 7 languages? I'm like, 7? I'm still trying to master English and you speak 7 languages? I'm like, what? And so he's funny. Like and then when he's going into something, he's all in. The 7 languages, the Ironman biking, the Ironman, everything that he can do. So it's when I am in my most stressful moments, I'll call him and he's like, show him how strong you are. And it's just that little thing that like, I'm like, all right, well, if he believes in me, then I got to get this done, and he's somebody that you call when you're very stressed out and, because he has been there.
That's such a good skill to have, somebody who can just calm somebody down.
Because, he really does say, like, you're trained for this. Trust in your training plan. You got it. Like, I saw your training plan. I saw your training. So I know that you're ready. Know in your head that you can do this, and oftentimes he's like the last person I'll talk to right before I race. And the first person to call when I cross the finish line.
That's amazing.
This little quick coaching thing that Brad wanted you to do has turned into a friendship because you've gone to Daytona with him. You've gone. He went and cheered you on in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Cool story. So this is when you and I don't bug a lot of people on Instagram, but when I see something that I can relate to, I'll message you and I'll be like, "Hey, this is super cool. You and I both raced at Daytona." Because you raced in a triathlon and I used to work in NASCAR on a pit crew. So I raced there too. And I was like, hey, we got something here.
Yeah.
And that was when we first talked. But I'll tell you the other thing I wanted to share with you. That Boston Marathon. It was rain, cold, and Erica will tell you how sick I was. And the night before, I was like, I'm not going to go. And then I decided in the morning to go. And I was so sick where I sounded like I was a chain smoker.
He was very like,
I could barely talk.
Oh my God.
But I went to see one person. I wanted to see Big Z. And so when he comes running by, I'm yelling, Chara, Chara. He can't hear me, but one person looks over and makes eye contact, and it was you. And then I saw you in all the photos, and I'm like,
pretty sure you had your hat on, your Bruins hat that you usually wear, your winter hat.
Yeah, I always wear a winter hat, even in the summer, because I get cold. It's a Bruins one. But last year, I wasn't sick, and he heard me and gave me a wave, and I got a video clip of it. So I was pretty excited. I was wicked excited.
He is the best, like, everybody loves him and he's so approachable. He will look you dead in the face and be like, thanks, dude. Like he doesn't mind. He's just so good at that. I love the way that he treats the Boston community and the way that they embrace each other. He embraces the kids, everybody, and everybody embraces him. He really is awesome like that.
And I love to hear that because that just makes you feel so good about him and hockey players. And they always talk about, like, we could really go into the Bruins for a while here. I could do a whole podcast on the Bruins. But we talk about the group they built in the locker room and the culture. And he just lives that every day. And it's so amazing to hear that you're not just his coach. Yeah. You're one of his best friends who you'll call each other in any moment and support each other for all these races. And I always see him in the comments when you accomplish something amazing, and it's super cool. So I'm proud of that. That's really amazing that you have that bond, and it just makes me happy to know that he's an all-around good guy, as well as many of the other Boston Bruins throughout the years and years and years. So I'm happy to hear that.
They're one of us, truly.
So I do have a question. Are you still coaching him, or are you guys just friends at this point?
We bounce ideas off of each other, but as for a training plan, he's on his own. Like he'll maybe show me, what do you think about this, or where do you think I should, and I look at it, I'm like, you got it. And he's way more intense. I mean I have a higher mileage than he does, but he's way more intense in his biking, and we swim the same. But yeah, he's
so So he's running again this year. Do you guys have any plans to run together, or is he kind of just doing his own thing?
Or are you going to win? You're going for the victory, the big dub, right?
It's only a matter of time before he finishes ahead of me, which would be pretty awesome too, because he's puts the work in. He's injured now though, so he's got stress fractures and plantar fasciitis. So yikes!
So he's not making a comeback on the Boston Bruins this year. Bummer.
This year, but
we need him and Bergie back. Him, Bergie, and Tuukka.
Yeah, that would be great. So I got to run. I got to run a 10K with Bergie. That was a 5K.
That's my favorite. Should I go put on my Bergeron jersey right now?
Yes, he is so fun. He didn't know anything about like timings or anything like that. So I was like, what if we ran like sub 7-minute miles? And he's like, okay, but what does that mean? And I was like, I mean, like he truly had no idea what I don't even know if he knew the distance of a 5K. But he was so fun. He averaged about 6:17 per mile.
Wow.
So
first ever race?
Yeah, it was first ever 5K. He really likes the Spartan stuff, like the lifting and the those type of things. So, but I said to Z, I'm like, you have to train him for a marathon. You guys run a marathon together, and this city will shut it down for you. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine if those two ran the marathon together? So I think next year
the Stanley Cup will have to make an appearance.
I mean, for sure.
Carry it between the
two finish line with the Stanley Cup. Like there's they would have so much love, and it would be really, really fun to watch that. And I do think that Bergie will run a marathon. I really do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That would be mile 19 would be, you know what? I don't think I would run. If someone gave me a bib, I'd be like, no, I need to see them run by me at mile 19.
I was going to say, if they do it, just make sure they stick to the left-hand side, runner's left, and we will cheer and give high fives.
High
we'll
five
like the
sign.
Little kids on the, the little kids on the sidelines.
It's funny because people don't realize like we've become best friends, and people don't like. He came out to, because he's injured, he came out to I had a 21-mile run last Saturday, and he came out to mile 9 and 18, and people were like, holy shit, is that Z? And I'm like, open the goo, have it open, rip off the top, and just kind of forgetting that, like, oh my. But then you're like, people are like, can we get a picture with you? And it's really sweet. Like, he's like, of course, and then he went to, I said, it is a very busy day in Boston. It's the Hop 21 that all the charities come out. I was like, I think you should hide. And he's like, no, I love this. I'm going to be out for everybody. So there he is handing out goose and Gatorade.
So cool.
Like injured. He's not even running. I'm like, you're so awesome. So that's how he is. High five and all the runners. Imagine like how cool.
I know somebody who would freak out.
Yeah.
I'd play it cool. It cool. I'm happy you brought it up though. Like you really brought up your favorite was with him, because I was eventually going to have to ask and tell you that story about when we made eye contact when my voice was so bad. But so that was one of your favorite Boston marathons. You've done 21. Tell me about some of the other ones you've done throughout your whole entire Boston experience here.
If you've done consecutive too. You've done 2018. That was my only Boston, and that was a doozy. How did that one fare for you?
We've had hot weather days. We've had cold weather days. I have seen every single weather in the Boston Marathon, but we train in it. So oftentimes, you're like we have the advantage that we probably have trained in it before. When my friends are like, some friends are like, oh, it's going to rain, so I'm not going to run Saturday. I'm like, no, you have to run Saturday because you don't know what it's like to run 26 miles in the rain. Practice it, and that's exactly how, some of the colder weather days are really sucked. And and then the hot weather days, there's been days I've gotten blisters on blisters, and I'm like, oh my God, that was a real hot. There's been really brutal days, and you back down your expectations and you fight through it, and you finish as strong as you know that you can. And I have friends and family all on the course, lined down the course. I write my name on my kit usually, and that tends to help a lot when somebody that you have no idea is like, go back on, high five, and that's really cool. Wellesley Scream Tunnel is really fun. I had my daughter 17 years ago in December and ran the Boston Marathon in April. That was the toughest one for me.
Wow.
I was like, I think I have asthma all of a sudden. They're like, no, you just had a baby. You're not asthma. You just had a baby. You shouldn't be running. I was like, okay. And I crossed the finish line. I was like totally fine. And I was like sprinted home, and then she was sleeping. My parents were like, I just had this big thought that I was betraying her, and all. She didn't even notice I was gone. She was sleeping, just a little baby. And that was the hardest one. Missing, being away from her so young. I felt, but that was part of the journey, you know. And then obviously the bombing was just the worst. I mean, that was just a day that we crossed the finish line and got in a cab. And unfortunately, I told my parents I was at the finish line waiting on a friend. But then I was like, all right, we're shaking and shivering. Let's go. We get in the cab. We go to drive home, and we heard the bombing, and then we thought it was thunder. So my sister literally said, "Oh, I didn't know that it was going to thunder today." And I'm like, "Yeah, me too." But we'll go home. We come home, we shower, we nap. My parents come in the house and collapse. Like, why weren't you answering your phone? And
no.
like, what? And they're like, we thought you were dead. We thought for sure you weren't answering your phone. And like, I'll never forget looking at my dad's reaction. Like, it made me so sad. I'm like, think about like, they're calling, we're not answering. I mean, it was, and we told them we're at the finish line.
Yeah.
So like, they didn't even know they just thought for sure.
But it wouldn't have occurred to you to tell them, oh, hey, we left, because I mean,
no, like what, whatever.
Yeah,
like, you don't,
it's not a normal thing that happens.
No. So that was definitely like the saddest one.
So they drove to your house because they didn't know.
We are in a 2-family, so they're upstairs and we're downstairs. And
Oh.
but they weren't home, and then so when they came in the house, they came in they were at their office, and they came in the house trying to get a hold of us, and then imagine they just opened our doors, and they were like, I don't even know what they were doing, but they were like, "You're here?" We're like, "Yeah, hi." They're like, "No, hi. Why didn't you answer your phone?" We were like, and then we turn on the news. I'm like, oh my God. I saw the credential. I'm like, oh my God, is that? And they're like, yeah, answer your phone. And we had no idea. So that was like really, really, really sad.
Wow. So you went through all that time, no clue until you turned the TV on.
No clue. My husband was right at the finish line too, right where they were standing. So he thank God we were like done and out of there, but he was right there with them.
Wild.
Yeah.
What about the next year? 2014.
Next year, everyone's are like, "Are you going to run?" I'm like, "Oh my God, absolutely!" And I mean, there's no safer place in this world than the Boston Marathon right now.
Boston's strong.
Yeah, that's it. And then like, I knew we'd be fine. And at the starting line, there were snipers on the roof, and I'm like, they're not going to let anything in this world happen to us. And there were snipers like all over the rooftops and of houses in Hawkinton. I'm like, we're safe. I feel totally safe.
Yeah. From what I hear is that year was like the most epic year. You were talking the most runners ever, just the crowd support like showed up, all the runners, the vibe, like it was like taking it back. We're not going to let you take this away from us type of feeling.
I can picture the Big Poppy speech right about now during the Red Sox game.
City. People had it on their shirts, like they had it on. That was when he even said that, like he made a statement. This is
yes.
God, what an experience you've had doing so many of these. We enjoy talking to we've had a couple, Mike Beeman, Dave McGilvery, you've all done more than 20. Well, Mike's about to hit 50 and Dave's about to hit 54. So I love to hear and talk to the runners who just keep doing this race over and over. And it's super awesome to see. You're still qualifying and you're still doing a ton to help raise money in the community. So I'm super pumped to finally have you on and talk all about that. This is such a cool race. I've never run it, but I'm always like this race I've been watching since a kid. We're just up the road from you in New Hampshire. Like it's on the TVs every day. All I knew growing up was the Boston Marathon. It's so cool to talk to someone like you who has so much history with this race.
Thanks. I think that you should run it.
I think you should run it too.
I know. I do. I keep saying I'm going to make it my last of the worlds, and I'm doing my first world this year. I'm running New York City. So,
the worlds are so fun. They're my favorite marathons. They're a party. They're so much fun.
We didn't even get into that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know they got number 7 out right now, so that one's on my list.
Like, oh, that's so annoying. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's cool that it's going to like you got to add. You know, I guess it would be tough to do a world marathon in Antarctica, but shouldn't the worlds have every continent?
I think so. I think they should have all the continents. When I remember coming home from Australia, because the first 777 ended in Australia, and I had broken I broke the world record. I got into the Guinness Book of World Record, and I was like, no matter what, I'm flying home first class. Doesn't care. I don't care.
Treat yourself.
They were like $22,000. I'm like, okay, so I'll be in the second class. I didn't know they were going to say 22,000. I was like, I'm going to walk my ass back to where I belong. And so when I think about Australia, that's a long ass flight. That is a 24 hours of door to door. But I loved Australia. That's an awesome place. I'm happy that they add that to the world.
Do you, completely off topic, have you ever heard of Casey Neistat?
I don't think so.
So he's a YouTuber and he started vlogging every day like 10 years ago, right? And he would vlog every day. He lived in New York City. Each vlog was 8 to 12 minutes. And someone who worked for Amarty's Airlines noticed that he was getting on the flight. So they upgraded him. And his daily vlog was of the flight. And it blew up. Like we're talking over 30, 40, 50 million views.
Yeah.
And he was already growing. And he was like, just hit 1 million. And then he went straight to 10 million. It was on a flight to Australia.
Yeah, I believe it. Was it Emirates? Yeah. I've been on Emirates before. That's an apartment. I'm like, they're like, the flight's ending. I'm like, no, I want to stay. I don't even want to go. I'm good here. Leave me. It's an apartment.
Luxury at its finest.
It's really, but I've had my fair share of upgrades where they're like, are you Becca Pizzi? I'm like, depends. Who wants to know? You want to upgrade? I'm like, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah,
I may have to name drop next time. Hey, I know Becca Pizzi. You want to upgrade?
So it gets you like sometimes.
Yeah. We're gonna be like, hey, we're friends. Check out this episode. Yeah, we know her.
I'll be like, can I sit in row 1 of Southwest, please, or something? Can I have an aisle seat?
Let me in.
Oh, Becca. All right. So you're not off the hook yet. We have a couple final big questions we ask every guest on the pod. And then maybe we want to talk a tiny bit more Boston just to hear what your plans are for this year.
Yes.
But I'm going to go first. I ask every guest the same question this year. So this year, I am going to have this imaginary on the runs pasta dinner. Maybe we do a real pasta dinner one day. But every guest from this year gets to bring a +1. You can bring anyone, alive or dead. Doesn't even have to be a runner. Who are you going to take?
Oprah.
Oh, cool.
I love that.
She is the most, I don't want to say underrated because she's not underrated, but like everyone always says, if you could meet anybody in the world, who would it be? Oprah, for no reason, decided to run a marathon, and she like beat the average time of a marathoner. And I was like, she had absolutely, and we always say, if Oprah can do it, you can do it. And so she beat Kevin Hart's time. And I was like, this is so fun and funny. And I feel like she would have so many thing to say.
I would love to have Oprah at our pasta dinner.
I want to sit at that table.
Could you actually make that phone call? She's friends with Tom Brady.
Yeah, she is. She would be so fun.
We got to start the 7 degrees of Becca Pizzi instead. Forget Kevin Bacon. Yeah. We're just gonna... Everybody knows Becca.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, Becca. So my question, we have a Spotify playlist and we love to have our guests add songs to it. And I say songs, so pretty much you can do whatever you want.
I say one song, but Becca,
it's my playlist, and I can
Becca, you can have as many as you want. People are going to give me so much shit for that. But also, come back on the pod one day because we didn't even really get into so much more, and then you can pick another song. Then
we gotta dig in. But is there a song that lifts you up, that gets you pumped to go running, or just something that you think would fit well on our playlist?
"Born to Run" by Bruce Springsteen. So he had me at a concert, and I got to go by limo. And
wait a second. He had you at a concert?
Yeah, and he sang "Born to Run," and it was
amazing.
Awesome. It was in Boston. Remember when Bruce played in Boston?
Yeah, at Gillette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was massive. Everyone was talking about. Yeah,
it was awesome. And he sang the song, and it was unbelievable. And like I was like, I have all these like unbelievable moments, but that was really special.
That is a perfect song. We do not have that one on the playlist, so that is just the perfect addition.
Yeah, and then Boston's Shipping Out. What's that?
Oh yes,
Dropkick Murphys.
I actually think I did add that because Boston Weeks is such a big part of our identity now that that one just had to be on there.
A very first awesome triathlon for you could be the Boston Tri. And they love that. They love that song there. The Boston Tri is really, really fun. Think about it. Sign up. It's
Hey, real quick, outside of Kona, favorite triathlon? Could be even a short distance triathlon. Don't include the Boston Tri though.
Not including the Boston Tri because I really, really love the Boston Tri. I got my ass kicked in Phoenix, Arizona, but I really loved it.
Nice.
Phoenix, Arizona is something for everybody, whether you're elite or a first timer. The weather's awesome. You have cactuses in your back when they give you your photos. I'm like, holy shit, are those cactuses? I didn't even see those when I ran by
That's
them.
cool.
So that would be Erica's first full Ironman then.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
that would
Phoenix.
That's a great first time. I'll go with you. We'll have so much fun. It really it's an okay. It's a great course. It's not too hilly. I don't like the hills.
I like to call it a fair course.
I'm afraid.
Like not too hilly, but not flat.
Right.
Because I've been to Cozumel and that's all flat. And
Yeah.
like, just imagine being in Aero
just
the entire
burns out,
time.
Yeah, burns out your muscles,
and then
right?
you don't have an excuse for having a shitty race. If it's all flat, people are like, "Oh, that's on you. You had a flat, fast course. What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, well." Like,
so what distances does the Boston Tri offer? Is it like a sprint or
sprint, Olympic, and then the sprint, and I think the half too.
Okay.
And they're fun.
I'll noodle on it.
It's really, really fun. You should think about it.
This is the furthest we've ever gotten, Becca. She just said she'll noodle on it.
I think the hardest part is signing up, and then you're like, shit, I gotta get this done. And that's the thing is, like, once you sign up, you kind of feel better. I always say, if your dreams don't scare your parents, they're not big enough. So if you tell your parent or you tell each other or yourself something and you're not scared, go big, go bigger.
I got myself into some trouble. I got into the ultra scene and I had a couple 100-milers that I was like, what did I do?
2 weeks apart, Becca.
Whoops.
She's turned into a crazy ultra runner.
My first one, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
What did I do?
She's a crazy ultra runner, crazy cat lady.
Aww.
I like cats.
Yeah.
I like running. I like cats. Yeah. That's me.
All right, Becca. So this year coming up, what do we expect? Where will you be? What are your plans? What's your A goal? What's your B goal? What's your fun goal? What are you doing? And also, what's like your favorite fuel around mile 19?
Goo. Roctane goo is like my definite favorite. The Roctane just works for me. People switch to all these different things and I've just stuck. I started with 2 goos and now actually Z was the one that said switch to 5 every 5 miles. I'm like, I'm going to gain weight on this run. That's really silly. And he's like, no, that just works for me. So every 5 miles I take a Roctane goo and that really helps. I only drink water on the course. I've never really done Gatorade. I don't want to be sticky and everything. So
yeah.
What's your favorite flavor though?
Roctane. It's the pomegranate cherry.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, that's a good one.
Pomegranate.
So hey, if you drop one at all on the course, don't fear. We're going to have one at mile 19 for you. You don't have to stop either.
I'm stopping. What's your tent going to say?
I'll just hold one out.
We're going to have our original banner.
We usually set up by the Johnny Kelly statue.
Okay, I will find you. I'm going to stop at your tent and come find you guys.
We're going to be runners left. You are going to hear us, guaranteed.
Yeah.
We got
both
at least
have megaphones.
Yeah, we got at least a dozen of us.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's a party.
I'll find you. I will positively find you. I will absolutely will. My PR is only 3:04. Like I usually I can run the 5K in like 17:30 usually when I was racing in college, but I'm not happy with my marathon time. It's 3:04. So I'm gonna break 3. Every time I try and break 3, I'm like, oh shit, this is really hard.
Well, don't let us slow you down.
No,
we'll literally just have high fives and goos for you.
But I'm doing Boston and London this year. I already did London, but I'm going back. Like, I really love it. And
London's amazing.
Lake Placid, I'm going to be doing Lake Placid this summer. So
Ironman?
Yeah.
Steve's going to be there.
Yeah.
We have a friend who's going to, that's his first Ironman ever.
He's like you. He didn't do anything else. He's going straight to full.
Yep.
That's the only way to do it. Rip off the Band-Aid and go big.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? I mean, obviously people just Google you, but like, are you still coaching? Are you taking runners, or are you hosting any programs or doing anything? Where will they see you on Saturday?
Saturday, I'll be all over. I've been on the course every single week. And I mean, every single Saturday, every weekend. I like doing the course a lot. But BeccaPizzi.com is my website, and then Instagram, Becca Pizzi, Facebook.
That's awesome. There's so much we could have covered, Becca, like the children's book, the foundation. I would love to have you back one day. We can talk about it all. Like, this is very Boston heavy here, but it's just why we call it Boston Week. So it's a ton of fun. Thank you so much. You're the freaking best. Thanks for following us and being a supporter at the same time. And so thrilled to finally have you on the podcast, Becca.
Thanks for having me, and I'll see you at mile 19.
Yes.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Becca Pizzi on the On the Runs podcast.